In this video, we are looking at Lesson 8, and the title of that lesson is Understand Text with Graphics. This lesson starts on page 18 of the textbook. But before we move into the lesson itself, I want to show you some types of graphics and why they may be used. So if you will draw a table similar to this one, and if you need to pause the video to copy this table, that is fine. You'll need a total of 7 rows. 6 of them need to be fairly large, like I've done here, and you'll need a row for your title. So go ahead and pause the video, draw yourself a table, and then start the video back up when you're ready. If the writer's purpose is to draw attention and I apologize for the tapping on my screen. I'm using a different iPad today, and this one is really bad for picking up that tapping sound. So I apologize if that annoys you. I totally understand. To draw attention to specific information, the author may use a labeled diagram. And I will show you an example or two of a labeled diagram. Let me just jump to the internet. Here's the human heart already up there. These are diagrams where you have labels going to specific areas on the picture. This is a common diagram on a science test. Okay, if the author's purpose is to show how pieces of information relate to each other, the author could use a table, and we've drawn a table on this page, a graph, or a chart, like a bar graph or a pie chart. If you look at the bottom of page 18, that is a bar graph. And that shows how pieces of information relate to each other. This would be to compare and contrast. To show how a process works, an author could use a sequence line or a timeline. It's the same thing. And we've seen several examples of these. There's an example on page 19. And he or she could also use a flow chart. And I'll show you what a flow chart looks like in case you don't know what that means. Again, I'm going to Google. I'm just going to Google flow chart. Flow charts are common in on the job. If you want to show people, here's a flow chart of the heart. This is actually a good example to compare to that diagram that we just did. Here's a good flow chart. Flow charts show you with shapes and arrows how things progress. This is a very complicated flow chart. This looks like a college level course, probably even a medical school level course. But a flow chart uses these symbols instead of a diagram. And you follow the arrows. There's yes-no situations. If it's yes, you follow one arrow. If it's no, you follow another arrow. And these are very good for showing processes. Here is a flow chart that shows you the diagram with it. That's actually a video. I don't want to get in there. But you can Google if you want to see more examples. Okay, the next type of graphic is used to show sequence of events. And just like the one before it, you can use a timeline or a flow chart. They're kind of along the same line. This one probably would be a timeline. But you could use a flow chart there as well. To show the sequence of a procedure. So if you wanted to show someone the steps in getting a high school diploma, high school equivalency diploma, you could make a timeline for this. You could also use a flow chart to show sequence in a procedure. So timelines or flow charts. Sequence line is a timeline. And then finally, if the author wants to show what something looks like, a couple of ways to do this one. One is just a photograph. You can take a picture of it, or you can draw an illustration. So a photograph is taken with a camera. An artist draws an illustration. So an illustration is a pencil drawing or a chalk drawing of something if you can't take a photograph. So these are types of graphics and why you would want to use them. I am going to stop this video and we'll look at an example of a graph in the next video clip.